Right now, it is our pleasure to welcome in our friend and colleague, Brian Mitchell, of course, host of B. Mitch and Finley, Ring of Honor member for the Commanders as well. B. Mitch, what's up, dude? How are you?
What's up, Craig? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. So I really wanted to have you on the show because I have no idea what to make of this Brandon Aiyuk TikTok situation, because it's one of those things that I could just as easily make the case that it's not a big deal at all, or that this is a problem. And I lean on someone like you here because you played and I didn't, and within a locker room, you have just an understanding that I don't about how big of a deal this is. So I know you guys talked about it on the show today, you and JP did. Yeah. What do you make of the fact that, for those, and I'll recap quickly for the audience here and then let you go, that Brandon Aiyuk took a screenshot or a picture of what presumably is Jayden Daniels' iPad with practice footage on it. It's one picture. There's no actual play run, anything, but it's one picture. It winds up on Brandon Aiyuk's TikTok. What do you make of it?
Well, I think, it could be, that's just like you said, it could be seen as a nothing if it doesn't happen again, okay? But ultimately, what's happening here, and we've seen multiple things where he had a FaceTime earlier with Jayden Daniels, and he put that on social media. The whole thing about it is Jayden Daniels is a friend of Brandon Aiyuk, okay? And I said this to JP this morning. I've sat here and watched some film with a friend of mine that was on another team because I wanted to get his opinion of what he was seeing, okay? Because when they're teaching their guys, they're telling them something I might be thinking. So I don't see it as that big of a problem. But what's happening right now is Brandon Aiyuk is in a negotiation battle. And he seems to be trying to use Jayden to get there. And Jayden is in this thing, and he's with his friend. He's talking to him and stuff like that. He may have seen a picture, but what NFL player hadn't seen the whole playbook already, per se, because they're breaking it down, and they know everything they're doing anyway. So I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the distrust that seems to be happening. So if I can take everything you and I are talking about in private, and promote it to try to put myself in a position, I'm now putting you in a position because I'll take it a step farther what probably nobody thought about. So when he posts that set, what are all the players that are on the Commanders right now thinking? Right. Is Jahan Dotson thinking that they're talking about him? Is Terry McLaurin thinking they're talking about him? Or other people thinking stuff. And now you got people looking side-eyed at Jayden Daniels. As I stated earlier, and I'll state this in Brandon Aiyuk's face and anybody else out there, when you got a guy trying to make his own way, you don't bring extra pressure and extra stress to him. And that seems to be what Brandon Aiyuk right now is doing with Jayden Daniels. Now, Jayden has been great. Hadn't said anything stupid, hadn't done anything stupid. He hadn't even said nothing about this whole situation. But eventually, when they get back to training camp and they get back to being around reporters, every time something goes down, he's going to be asked questions. Is that fair to him? No. And Brandon Aiyuk needs to understand that as a friend, you can't keep doing that to your boy.
So this makes me happy, Brian, because you and I are actually in very similar places on this, almost the exact same place on this as to where I started the show. And I was like, we're going to have Brian on later. I'm very curious what he thinks, and I value your opinion a lot on this particular subject. But I am not scared at all about some competitive advantage here that all of a sudden, oh my God, the 49ers or the world gets anything out of this screenshot, or even, like you said, of Aiyuk watching film with Jayden. That I can actually make an argument that's a good thing for Jayden because Brandon has been in the NFL and playing under a detail-oriented coach in Kyle Shanahan for a long time. Totally. And I actually think that's probably ultimately a net positive. But it does seem like for a franchise in Washington that has been involved in so many messes the last 25 years and seems to have gotten rid of a lot of them, if not all of them, but can't escape the kind of the national narrative of messiness, this is now bringing the 49ers Aiyuk mess to Washington. And my question, I guess, would then be, like, if you're Jayden, do you feel like you can stand up as a young guy, as a rookie? Or if you're Dan Quinn or Adam Peters, are you giving your second overall pick a call, being like, hey, we need to have a chat real quick?
Well, Dan Quinn and Adam Peters have every right to call Jayden and talk to him and find out what happened and see if they get an answer that they agree with. Okay? Jayden Daniels, on the other hand, has to understand a lot of friends have been the biggest downfall of a lot of our friends out there in the world. It's not always your foes. And sometimes your friend is just saying, I'm just trying to get paid. Yeah, but you don't have to step on top of my head to get paid. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the ultimate thing for me is Jayden Daniels has rolled in this thing and has done everything that he was supposed to do. And some believe he's done more than he was supposed to do at this point. Why now would you have people wanting to question him or thinking that this is the thing? I don't want those, and they're out there, are going to start saying, well, he must be telling Brandon he'd rather him on the team than Terry, than Jahan, than anybody else out there. But when you start hearing the people inside the building, the true story. Every time Jayden shows up at 5:30, 5:45, Luke McCaffrey is showing up. Terry is the guy that's always there helping out everybody and doing things. So there's a lot of positivity going on. Brandon Aiyuk right now is loyal to whoever is going to pay him. He's loyal to whoever can help him get paid. And I think that is where you have to know it as a friend. So I got a lot of friends, okay? And I got friends, they'll tell you straight up, when you're helping me, I do anything for you. When I think you're trying to use me, I will check your ass in a heartbeat. And I think that's where those young dudes have to get to, because young people today think, oh, he my friend, he ain't going to ever do nothing wrong. Sometimes him trying to do something that you think is not wrong can affect you, and you got to be careful with that.
Brian Mitchell, host of B. Mitch and Finley over on 106.7 The Fan. Of course, you can listen to Brian and JP on the free Odyssey app as well, where you can listen to us daily and check out both of our shows' podcasts on demand if you miss any part of it. I'm going to ask this open-ended, B. Mitch, without any other setup. Does this change the way you see Jayden at all?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, same, just for the record.
No, things are the same for me, but I think that his eyes should be open.
Yeah.
See, people don't realize I came into this league as one of the most brash guys out there. I got in some trouble early on and did all kind of little things, but I learned from those things and didn't do them again. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's going to have to learn, and this is nothing anywhere close to being super serious. But he's going to have to learn that sometimes you just got to make sure you put your foot down and you say, "Oh man, look, I would rather you not post this stuff or put this stuff out in the public. I'm your boy and I'm gonna be here for you, but I would rather you not put everything out that we discuss about." You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like if you go to a guy and you say off the record, and he tells you something, and then you go report it, you won't get anything off the record again. I promise you that.
Right. And he'd have every right to be mad at me and hey, I told you that off the record. That's how that works. And not everybody. I do think that is something that generationally is different now. So much of people's lives is online, and I think it's a thing you learn the more you get older. Now I sound like I'm 1,000 years old, but I don't care.
You're not thought you just got more knowledge. And see, this is the thing.
But the thing is,
I have a problem with Brandon Aiyuk is doing only because he brought Jayden into it.
Right. Yeah.
If you're trying to get paid, you can get on social media, say what the hell you want. Just talk about you. Right. You want to get paid, you want to stop following the 49ers, do that. Do whatever you want to do to try to put the pressure on them to get your money. But once you start bringing somebody else's life and you start affecting what people think about them, then that's a problem.
Totally. And what I was gonna say to wrap up on this point, Brian, is I think that there's a thought when you're younger that everything is online. Everybody's life is 100% online. And I think what you realize when you get older is, no, people post their highlight reels online. And that's a very different reality. And it's okay to not post it. Even it's not always the highlight reels. People are sharing real stuff online, like pain and and serious things that happen to them, and that can be good and important to have shared experiences so people don't feel like they're alone in when a certain thing happens to them. So I'm not saying that any person can't share anything online, but what people have to realize is not everything needs to be online, and that seems to be something that Brandon Aiyuk and Jayden Daniels are both relatively young dudes, and I think Aiyuk might be figuring out in real time, or perhaps will be told he needs to figure out in real time. Brian Mitchell is our guest, host, of course, of B. Mitch and Finley over on 106.7 The Fan. Brian, I've been taking in a lot of the national podcasts recently, and a lot of them are doing their rankings shows and all these kinds of things, and obviously the Commanders are coming in fairly low, as you'd imagine, in a lot of these rankings. Yeah. The thing that concerns them the most is the offensive line. How concerned are you here a couple weeks from training camp? 1, I'm not concerned at all. 10, this is a 5-alarm fire, and I agree with all the national pundits who think the Commanders are going to stink because their line's not good enough.
I'm going to say I'm not I'm definitely not concerned. I'm not going to say that I'm not concerned at all. I'm looking at it if I'm – you say 1 is the highest, right?
One is the lowest. 1 is no concern. 10 is the fire.
Okay, so no, I think it's somewhere around a 3 or 4 in my book. And the reason I say that, you got right guard, cool. Last year, Wally didn't play as well. I think he'll play better this year. And you got Biotis and also Allegretti. Those 2 guys can play. Left tackle, to me, I think Cornelius Lucas, to me, I'm not going to lie, I think he's better than what we had last year. That's just my opinion. I also believe that Kingsbury is not going to just put guys out there and expect them to just block without giving them some help. People have to realize Jim Lachey, who was great on this team, Joe Jacoby, who was great on this team, they got help. And when you just put guys out there, the defensive players in this league are more athletic than the offensive players. And if you don't have a Trent Williams all over the place, you're going to most times have the defensive player being just better than your guy. So you need to give him a chip here, a chip there, from a running back, from a tight end, from a physical receiver, to where that guy has to be concerned. So I believe that they will make that adjustment. Now, if Coleman decides to begin to play well and they want to put him over there at left tackle, which they believe he can play, then you put him over there. But still, as a young man, you give him some help, right? So it comes down to the adjustments that are made. Scott didn't do it, and Eric didn't do it a lot last year. So ultimately what's going to have to happen, if they don't have the best of the best, like the Eagles have for a while now, like the Cowboys have for a long time, like the Washington Redskins of the past were when they had the Hogs. If you don't have that, then you need to be helping them out some type of way to give yourself a chance. A running back chipping on an end and then releasing out, that's a safety valve for you right there. And that guy gets you 10 yards. 10 yards gets your first down. Just move the offense.
Definitely. And the play calling. I think that, to me, when I listen to, and like these people that I'm listening to I'm listening to them not to get, like, I'm not hate listening. These are friends of mine throughout the league. I'll single out like Robert Mays from The Athletic. The Athletic Football Show is, for my money, the best national football podcast out there. But I listen to some of the people that Robert has had on, and even Robert's own take on the Commanders, and I just don't get the sense that nationally people appreciate, and I don't mean to pick on Eric here, but how bad EB was last year. That the play calling, and you can certainly speak to this from the offense that y'all ran back when you were winning Super Bowl rings, like the play calling can also protect an offensive line. And last year it did the opposite. It exposed the offensive line. And so I just think based off that, they're going to be so much better, because I think Dan Quinn's oversight as the head coach will not allow Cliff to do some of the things that Eric Bieniemy did unchecked from Ron Rivera last year.
Mm-hmm. I just think it's like a combination. Now, Eric didn't do his best, but the offensive line wasn't good. And then we saw Leno, they were coming off the edge. He was like a turnstile. And then when you have a quarterback that does not release the football, that makes it even worse.
Sure.
So you don't know what happened, because soon as Jacoby Brissett came in with the same offensive line, same play calling, the offense moved right down the field. So I think that a lot of that had to do with Sam and his let's say, inexperience. You know, I'm not going to sit up here and put it all in, but he has some inexperience where he would not anticipate passes. You have to do that. But still, your offensive line, you have to help them out. And you have to make sure on the edges that you don't have a super athletic defensive end having a field day to tee off on your tackle all day. And if they can help that out on either side, I think in the interior, I think they'll be good.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good clarification. It's the mix of it, like Eric didn't do a good job for Sam, but that also is inherent on Sam being Sam and the offensive line in front of him having its limitations as well. So that's a good clarification. Brian Mitchell, host of B. Mitch and Finley, 106.7 The Fan, weekdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. B. Mitch, always a pleasure, sir. Thanks for some time this evening.
Appreciate you, Craig. Take care, brother.
That is Brian Mitchell, everybody. Hopefully in the Hall of Fame soon. Should be. Ring of Fame, and one of the best players to ever put on the burgundy and gold, and the second all-time leader in all-purpose yards in NFL history. Just your Brian Mitchell standard fun facts that are required anytime you have Brian Mitchell on the show, at least on this show.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.